What's up guys, Noor here and welcome to Book of Showtime Chapter 45. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to leave a like and share with your friends, and if you have a topic you'd like for me to cover for Book of Showtime, be sure to leave it in the comment section down below, or anywhere you can reach me on social media or the Book of Showtime Discord. So my friend Amy says, I'd love to see your opinion on video game movies as a whole and what you'd like to see adapted in the future. Since 1993's Super Mario Bros., video game movies have been a polarizing hit or miss concept. Historically, when video game movies tend to hit the silver screen, most of them are critically panned, financial failures, or in a lot of cases, both. In recent years, however, there's been a bit of a video game film renaissance with movies like Detective Pikachu, two Sonic films, and 2023's Super Mario Bros. All being universally well received and financial successes. It seems that now people are learning how to do video game movies right, and I think that's awesome. My take is, the mission when you're making a video game movie should be to create an original story, but also capture the essence of the game at the same time. That's what made all the movies that I just mentioned great, that's what made the new Mortal Kombat movie great, and I know I'm in the extreme minority here, but that's what made the Assassin's Creed movie good too. Now look, there's two Assassin's Creed fans I was with when I saw the movie, they didn't like it, but to me, I felt like when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, this is Assassin's Creed. Sure, it doesn't have any of the characters from the games, but they had all of the concepts nailed down, like the war between the Templars and the Assassins, the Animus system, and the Apple. That's what stands out the most. And that's also what I enjoyed about the first Resident Evil movie. It was an original story with original characters, but it had the main concepts from the games, like the T-Virus, Umbrella being the big evil, and Raccoon City was still the setting, which to me makes it one of the best in the series. And I know looking at all the Resident Evil movies, that isn't saying much, but for the reasons I listed, it doesn't try to be like the game too much, and that's why it stands on its own. And now let's take a look at the other side of the coin. The Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City movie was terrible, outright terrible. They tried to combine two games with a ton of events into one, and it just didn't work. It's a shame because if you're a Resident Evil fan, if you watch the movie, you can really see the potential if this was a more focused plot. If they just wanted to adapt either Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, or Resident Evil 3, maybe it'd be a better film, but you have so many moving parts and narratives that don't get fleshed out, it just kind of doesn't work. Then you have this interesting case of, did you guys even play the games? With movies like Max Payne and the two Hitman films. Now, at the time these movies were coming out, I had never played Max Payne, I had never played Hitman, and I knew from the trailers that this wasn't right. I knew Hitman was a stealth game, but here's Agent 47 quipping, having these big firefights out in the open, blowing up helicopters, and Max Payne looked more like a horror movie, like a psychological horror movie, than a neo-noir film. In fact, Scott Miller, who was the producer of the original Max Payne game, he publicly condemned the Max Payne film, and rightfully so. I think most video game studios need to be a little bit more involved when it comes to their adaptations. But all in all, I really love video game movies. I don't know what it is. Even if they're kind of bad, I still like watching them. Just kind of seeing something that you're playing brought to life in a different way, it's interesting. So as for games I'd like to see adapted into movies, that's actually a tough question. It's tougher than it seems because there's a lot of games I'd like to see adapted into live action, but in the form of a TV show. Games like Payday, Judgment, LA Noire. Payday, they do a lot of live action stuff to promote their games, which I always thought was really cool. And Judgment, it already had this Hollywood feel to its presentation and storytelling. The fight scenes mixed with the detective work. If they can do it kind of like on the level of the Batman, where, if you ever watched the Batman film, there was a really good blend between Bruce messing people up and then Batman doing detective work, that would be fantastic. LA Noire, I think that game had a really solid story, and I tend to enjoy the period piece games a lot more too, especially when it comes to crime. And being that it actually had a lot of Hollywood actors, a lot of the Mad Men cast was in it, maybe they can come back and reprise their roles. You know what else would be another good adaptation to a TV show? I know, Amy, you asked me about movies, but sorry, I'm kind of off on this tangent. Mass Effect. And I say Mass Effect because it has a lot of Star Trek DNA in it. When you watch Star Trek, half of Star Trek is shooting aliens and the other half is politicking in Zoom meetings. Now, I know the actual gameplay and action sequences are fun and engaging in Mass Effect, but the periods where you're running around buildings talking to people a lot, those are just as important. But Amy asked for movies, so let me go to movies. And right off the top of my head, I have to go with Alan Wake. You guys know I'm a huge Alan Wake fan, so this is a no-brainer for me to want this to be a movie. As with Payday, Remedy has a lot of live action stuff tied to their games. All of the TV shows on Alan Wake were live action. Quantum Break, I don't know if you guys played that. That had like about half a dozen episodes that were after each chapter. They were just TV shows, so you would just watch them. And Control had its share of live action moments too, in a way that was also very seamlessly blended into the gameplay. Alan Wake is one of my all-time favorite games. You know, its novelization was fantastic, and the way the story is structured and paced, it can translate to a movie pretty well. In fact, there's actually a live-action miniseries called Bright Falls that released around the same time as the original, and I don't remember too much of it because it was trippy, but it was pretty solid what I do remember. And you know, it's funny, I had finished most of the outline for this video before I played Alan Wake 2, but Alan Wake 2 has a ton of live action in it. It's awesome. Now, I know the streets are saying Alan Wake is getting a TV show at AMC, but you know, why stop there? There's a lot of stories you can tell about Alan being trapped in a dark place. In fact, that was basically the point of American Nightmare. Show one of the many battles he's undergoing during his time trapped there. Another game that would have a beast film? Sleeping Dogs. And guess what? It had a live action trailer. Wait, hold on, time out. Weren't we supposed to get a Sleeping Dogs movie already? Wasn't Donnie Yen lined up to be the lead? I mean, come on now. First the studio that makes Sleeping Dogs shuts down, and now the movie's in purgatory? This is terrible. Anyway, Sleeping Dogs is probably right at the border of overlooked and underrated. While it drew plenty of comparisons to Batman Arkham Asylum and Grand Theft Auto 4 for the sandbox settings mixed with deep combat, what gave Sleeping Dog the edge, to me at least, was its very well crafted story with quite a few memorable characters and fan favorites. While there is a lot to do within the world, within the universe, this is a story that I can easily see being condensed and told in around 2 hours and change. Now, since we talked about one of my favorite series in that of Resident Evil earlier, it only makes sense that we talk about my other favorite series, and that's Call of Duty. And guess what? They've done live action stuff too. A while back, Call of Duty put out this live action video called Operation Kingfish, which showed how Captain Price was detained before the events of Modern Warfare 2, the original Modern Warfare 2, by the way. I would never forgive Infinity Ward for having 2 Modern Warfare trilogies with the same names, but I digress. I thought that the live action trailer, I thought Operation Kingfish was really, really cool. I know there's been rumors and reports of a potential Call of Duty film for years now, and with how great the storytelling can be in Call of Duty at times, not to mention all the games they can choose to adapt, you know, there's 20 years of games there, this might be the most appealing to me out of all the choices I've gathered. A live action version of Clean House from Modern Warfare 2019, that would be pure cinema. If they can translate the tension in the game to the on-screen, that would be awesome. And finally, one more video game that I think would be a fantastic movie, Evil West. It seems fitting to have a Western game here, as for decades, Western films dominated cinemas across the country, with Clint Eastwood movies firmly entrenched in American history. I've said previously on the channel, Evil West is an amazing game, truly underlooked, and in fact, it might be time to pick it up again soon. It's a fun game, and I think its light-hearted but grounded story would translate to movie form very well. There's actually a lot of comedy in this game. The supernatural elements of mixing with the Old West, that would be something very unique to see. We kind of need more sci-fi Western films. It's like 2 of the best genres coming together. Why don't we have more of that? All of these games, I think they would make great fun movies, but for the love of God, keep Chris Pratt away from them. I do not need to see Ghost played by Chris Pratt. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know down below what your favorite video game movie of all time is and what video games you would like to see adapted into a movie. Inshallah, I will see you in the next chapter.